Okay, Jet fans, Darrell Revis.
Is off the board.
The New York Jets select
Mekhi Becton, Louisville.
You fired up to be a New York Jet?
Pressure just makes you go a little more. I kind of like pressure a little bit.
The New York Jets select.
Welcome to another episode of NFL Draft Preview presented by Verizon with the Athletics' Dane Brugler. Dane, we got another loaded wide receivers class, but up top, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. What makes that trio so special?
I don't know. This is like the evolution of the NFL, but, none of these guys are built like Calvin Johnson or Julio Jones. The guys that we usually think of when we talk about the no-brainer, upper echelon prospects at receiver. They're different in how they're built, but the impact potential that they bring is really, really impressive. And Jamar Chase, we didn't need to see him take another snap in college football to know what kind of player he was. He opted out this past year, but he still has a great chance to be the number one receiver drafted. He blew up his pro day, even better than I think a lot of us thought. Not the biggest guy, just over 6 foot, just over 200 pounds, but runs a 4.34 in the 40-yard dash, a 3.99 short shuttle. Out of all the players in the draft guide, only 2 got under 4 seconds in the short shuttle. That's Michael Carter, the running back from North Carolina, and Jamar Chase. So that short area quickness is outstanding. Not only the long speed, but that short area quickness, really impressive. These 3 receivers do they all go top 10? Do one of these guys maybe slip out of the top 12? It'll be interesting to see ultimately where they end up.
It's likely none of them are on the board at 23. So how about 2 players that could be available at 23, but also 34 when the Jets select at the top of the second round?
I think there are 2 names here that I wanted to specifically talk about, and it's first Rashad Bateman, from Minnesota. He was kind of a late bloomer in high school. Once he started to really become productive in SEC teams, really started to take notice as a senior. Minnesota was already in there and had that relationship, and so Rashad Bateman stayed true to that commitment. Goes up to the Big Ten, becomes a Gopher, and he was really productive at Minnesota. He as a sophomore in 2019, had over 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. He tested as an above-average athlete, but I don't know that you necessarily see that all the time. He doesn't necessarily always play like an explosive athlete, but his route savvy is NFL level. It's that Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas style where he doesn't always look like he's blowing past corners with just pure athleticism. But his ability to leverage coverage and, create that separation just based off of body movement and hesitation and, the ability to lull defenders to sleep, he has that. So I think a lot of teams would be interested in Rashad Bateman, what he could offer. And then Elijah Moore. I don't know that he's even going to make it to the Jets, pick 34. He might be off the board in the first round. There's a lot of, for a lot of the same reasons you like Jalen Waddle, are the same reasons you're going to like Elijah Moore. 5'9.5", 178 pounds, not the biggest guy, but, he can fly. 4.35 in the 40-yard dash. He led FBS in catches per game with 10.8. A lot of it was underneath stuff, but there were times where you see him work down the field, give him a simple, a sluggo route or a vertical route. He can do those things. He can track the football, outstanding hands, creates before and after the catch. So with Elijah Moore, you have a home run waiting to happen. And so because of that, there's a good chance that if the Jets if they wanted to draft him, they might have to do it at 23.
The Jets have 2 picks in the third round. So can you give us 2 players, 2 wide receiver prospects that you think could make sense for the Jets?
Well, as we look at it, like we kind of set it up, it's a very deep year. So I think there could be, more than a few that they look at, but 2 that, maybe stand out as making sense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3-year starter at USC. He was, coming out of high school, really hyped as this polished receiver who's going to come in, 5-star guy. And for the most part, he lived up to that. Now, I don't know that he necessarily is that upper echelon type of impact player, but you just know what you're getting. You have a strong-handed player. He is very refined with his movements. Can get better as a route runner, but very polished. He tracks the ball well. He was a high-volume receiver at USC. And then if they're looking for more of a speed threat, a guy who's really going to test defenses deep, Tutu Atwell at Louisville, he's a player in the Marquise Hollywood Brown mold, where he's tiny, 5'7", 155 pounds, but he can absolutely fly. High school quarterback, so still learning the position in some respects, but good luck covering him. And so if you're talking third round, maybe that's where you take a swing on a player like this who is going to stress out the defense. And so at a certain point in the third round, that becomes a player you're looking at and saying, okay, yeah, he can really help our offense.
You've given us round 3 options. How about a day 3 option for the Jets?
Well, and this is a player that once you get into rounds 4 and 5, this is a player I'd be looking at to target, and that's Simi Fehoko from Stanford. 6'4", 220 pounds, really productive this past year at Stanford. In 6 games, he had over 500 yards receiving. He also blocked a field goal. So, special teams, that's where, from day one, you're not sure where he's going to fit in the wide receiver depth chart, but he's going to help you from day one on special teams. That's a huge selling point. Not the most natural hands catcher, but he has such a large catch radius that he can go up and get the football. Tested really well, 4.43 in the 40-yard dash, under 7 seconds in the 3-cone, which is really impressive for a guy that size. There's just a lot of things you can do with him, and once you get to the 4th, 5th round, you're looking for those types of traits. He's a player that I think you don't think he's too far from contributing to your offense. And like I said, day 1 special teamer, and that's a big selling point as well.
That's all we have for this edition of NFL Draft Preview, presented by Verizon with the Athletic's Dane Brugler. Dane, thanks a lot, and talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Ethan.